So this is a letter. It's Yiddishkeit Chelek Yud. Tavshin Tes Vav. Teves. I'm assuming that's the winter of 1950. Tes Vav. 1954. Someone asked the Rebbe about their son, that they want to move where he's learning in Cheder. For the reason, it says there's weniger Yiddish Shemayim, there's less Yiddish Shemayim in this new school, but the luft is dart abesere, the ear, Pasha Bagashmius. The kid was obviously learning in a school where the ear was not so good, not so clean. And they found a better school, better, not in Yiddish Shemayim, but better in the Gashmius, the ear. And they want to go know the Rebbe's opinion on it. So you have time to think about what you think the Rebbe answered this person. Not long ago, somebody asked the following question. They live in a small town. They have 3 kids under the age of 2 because Baruch Hashem, they have twins. And because of life conditions over there, just the nature of her husband's work, it gets very difficult at night to put the kids to sleep. Imagine preparing 3 kids, bathing 3 kids all under the age of 2. It gets very difficult. So one of the places, you will, of a Shvedikaited contention is that the husband, should he go to shul at night, to daven, mincha, ma'ariv with the minyan, or should he stay at home to help his wife? And then the way she words the question is, I know what he's doing is right, and I'm working on it, and I want my kids to know that what he's doing is right also, if going to shul is the right thing. But I also am worried that they're going to grow up with resentment. They may feel it for me also, that Tati's not home, and the house is chaos, and there's spaghetti going on the ceiling. Why? Because Tati had to go to shul. So shul, in their mind, now means chaos. That was her, it's a question. She wasn't making a statement. She was asking a question. So there's a Mishnah in this week's Pirkei Avos, Pirkei. Okay, Pirkei talks about a bunch of things in numbers. Basaram amoris nivra ha'olam. One of these groups of 10 is Asara nisim nasu laviseinu the Beis Hamikdash. Okay, there were 10 miracles that happened to Aviseinu, to our fathers, in the Beis Hamikdash. Anyone remember what's the first one of those 10? First one. Loi hipila isha mereach b'sar kodesh. Very good. The words are important, so I'm going to repeat them. Loi hipila isha, a woman did not miscarry. Mereach b'sar hakodesh, from the smell of the holy meat. Then the Mishnah goes on to many other nisim that happened in the Beis Hamikdash, on the Mizbeach. Just what exactly was the nes? So, the Gemara says, if a pregnant woman has a craving for something, you have validation for cravings, there's something real about it, and she really, really, really wants it. So according to the way some of Farshim explain, it means the fetus inside, the child really wants it, and the fetus is going to try to come out and get it, and that's dangerous. That's a miscarry. So it's dangerous for the woman not to have what she's craving. Even on Yom Kippur, like we'll talk about soon. If it's getting dangerous, that she really wants it, you have to give it to her. The nest over here was that a woman, even if she smelled the delicious smell of the holy meat, a woman never miscarried. But there's a whole bunch of questions on this Mishnah. Question number 1 is, why is it in Pirkei Avos? It's a beautiful Mishnah in Gevaldik and Nisim. Why in Pirkei Avos? Mili de Chasidusa. What does this have to do with Midas Chasidus? More importantly, what does it have to do with us today? Mafarshim on the Mishnah ask this as well. Why do we need to know this today? It's a beautiful piece of history, l'chora. Not only that, it's listed as the first. Out of all the Nisim in the Beis Hamikdash, this is the first. This is actually the one that's the furthest from the Beis Hamikdash. The woman technically could have been miles away from the Beis Hamikdash. The smell would travel very far. So the nest could have happened anywhere. And it's considered to be a nest that happened in the Beis Hamikdash, and that's the first nest. L'chuda would have made more sense to start with something in the Beis HaMikdash, and then move out and say there were nisim further and further. It's another question. Another very important question here is why? Why did the Eibusher have to make the nest in such a way? The nest could have been that the smell should not travel far. The smoke of the Mizbech went straight up. The nest should be that the smell shouldn't travel. Besar Kotshim could be cooked anywhere. In Yerushalayim, let's say they were cooking meat, a kohen is cooking meat in his house. Hashem should make a nest. It shouldn't be like your typical barbecue. The smell should stay in his house. It shouldn't go further. Or the nest could have been that pregnant woman wouldn't smell it. But no, the nest had to be a pregnant woman would smell it and still not be hurt by it. So the Medrash Shmuel is, I think, the first sefer to collect Mefarshim on Pirkei Avos. He was a student of Dariza, lived in Tzfas. He gives the following nekuda. The message of this Mishnah is a mitzvah does not cause any harm. Lo yihipila isha mereach besar hakodesh is not just a one-time thing, it's an everlasting message to Yid. If you're doing a mitzvah will not cause any harm, to the extent that it's the reach, the smell, of the besar hakodesh, which is the very, very furthest part of the mitzvah. It's a smell that came as a result of the mitzvah. Even that won't cause any harm. You know, how many medications do you buy, and the list of side effects are longer than the list of the benefits? This will help you with headaches, but it may cause heart failure and kidney disease and blah, 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 blah. Zok the Medrash, the Mishnah is teaching you, Lo hipila isha mereach besar hakodesh. If it's besar hakodesh, if it's a holy mitzvah, it won't cause any damage, any harm. But we have to expand this a little bit. What he's essentially saying is, this is kind of like a prototype. Okay, Lo hipila isha, that symbolizes chas v'shalom, a parent losing a child, emotionally, Yiddishkeit wise, miscarrying a child, losing the child. That's lo hipila isha. You won't lose your child. Medeyach besar hakodesh, from any area of a mitzvah. And it applies not only to women per se, who physically carry the child, it's parents and educators in general. A mitzvah doesn't cause harm. So let's try to explore this a little bit. There's a strange Gemara in Eruvin. The Gemara says like this: a person will only acquire Torah for real if he acts like an achzer. An achzer is someone who's ruthless, like an oirev. Oirev, we decided, and we had another class, oirev is a raven or a crow. Maybe they're related, I don't know. Some translate as a raven, a crow, a ruthless bird. A person will only acquire Torah if he's ruthless to his family. Spends time learning, and that's what it sounds like the Gemara is saying. It's a very strange Gemara. What does that mean? Yes, strange enough. But if you think about it, especially as parents, that's not such a difficult thing to understand. As parents, we do some certain things because we need to. We do the same thing. The most difficult part, probably one of the most difficult parts of being a parent is being the grown-up. If you're the parent, your children have the right to be the children, and we have the obligation to be the grown-ups. Now, sometimes we need to do things as the grown-up. We need to do things that will indirectly affect our family, and it could be labeled like achzorius. Sometimes we need to do things directly to our children, which could also be labeled as achzorius, as ruthlessness, but they're both actually good. Very, very basic level. One of the most difficult things in this realm, at least, that I had to do for my kids, I had to hold down my 3-year-old daughter on the dentist chair. She's a feisty kid. And they had to strap her down, and then I had to physically hold her. It was my first time seeing the inside of the mouth when the dentist is working on it. Oy. As a parent, you have to do that. It's achzorius. The kid is crying. The kid is screaming, Nevach, bitter tears. She wants to get off the chair. And you, an achzer, pinning your 3-year-old helpless, powerless child to a dentist chair. You push it an achzer. Sometimes you got to do that, because it's not actually achzorius. It's not real achzorius. It's the biggest kindness you could do to this kid. A father has to go to work. The kids cry, Tati, stay home, Tati. They don't realize they're the real achzor. They're really ruthless. The poor father, he wants to stay home. You think he wants to go to work, slave the whole day? He would rather stay home. And he's the achzor. He needs to leave home early in the morning. And if it's a mother has a job, which we'll talk about soon. Same thing applies. She has to leave her kids. She would love to stay home with them. And come home late. She doesn't want to come home late. He doesn't want to come home late. But it's understood that sometimes part of giving a child a good thing comes with a little difficulty. It's part of the way the Eibishter created the world. The challenge now becomes, what about when these difficulties are associated with Torah and mitzvahs? We're going to do something under the label of mitzvah, and it's going to be difficult. Or we'll say, maybe this is going to come to bring resentment later on. How do we deal with that? We're doing a mitzvah, but is it going to cause harm to this kid? Is it going to, are we going to really be undermining the whole purpose of Torah mitzvahs if we're introducing a mitzvah and really it's only going to backfire on us? Think about it. Suppose the father Taka has to go away in the morning, and the kid's crying, why does Tati always leave us? He doesn't love us. Imagine if you were put up to that test. Your kids ask you those words. Why is Tati not home? We want him to be home. What's a mother going to tell a kid in such a case? L'chura, the mother doesn't have to be a rocket scientist, right? I would imagine that without having been told this in seminary, most mothers will give the same answer instinctively. Tati loves you. He would love to be home with you. But you know that because Tati goes to work, that's how we have the money we need for all the things that we have. Tati goes to work because he loves us. One mother will say these words, another mother will say it in other words, but she'll have the kid understand that the father is really doing this because he loves them. The question is where our priorities are. Could we come with the same language when it comes to other things? Father went to shir by night. He went to a shir. Oh, Tati doesn't love us. Why didn't he stay home? Why did he go to shul? Does the mother believe that it's actually good for her family? Tavshin Tezayin, the Rebbe spoke about Gan Yisrael. One of the Rebbe said, what benefit for a kid to leave home? He leaves his Yidei Nashim Rachmanis. He leaves his mother who's so Rachmanis and so kind. Mother goes to visiting day and she sees what they turned their kid into. A mother can't do some of those things. But the counselors, they whip them into shape. That's what the Rebbe says. It's good for a kid to sometimes leave home for that. And there's another letter here. There's another letter here, also, Chelik Yud Tavshin Tezvav, where a couple is complaining that their child is having a difficult time with Parnasa. The Rebbe says, however difficult it is for me to tell this to you, but I have to say the truth as is. And that's regarding the Bacher's beard. That he's growing a beard, and he used to feel very good about it, and it's only going to bring goodness to him. But now there are people, that Rebbe doesn't want to mention names, that are really causing him angst about the beard. And the Rebbe says, if you could try to arrange that the Yedei Noshim Rachmoniyos Bishlu V'Goimer should stop bothering him about his beard. It seems like the woman was telling him, whoever the woman in the story is, Rachmanis, let him shave his beard. He needs a job. The poor guy can't succeed with the way he looks. Says the Rebbe, that's Yidei Noshim Rachmoniyos. They're going to cause the opposite of rachamim for this kid. The right thing for this bacher is support him in growing a beard. Nothing negative is going to come out of it, only goodness. And the child is going to learn, as far as chinuch goes at least, he's going to learn from the way we react to such things. So the way that woman said it, so rightfully so, I'm working on it. She says, my husband leaves home, and he goes to shul, or he goes to the minyan, he goes to the shir, and I have to put up with when he leaves. And my kids are feeding off my feelings. She's right about that. But is a very key, adkan point number one. But this point is not complete unless you add another whole element here. So far, lo hipila isha is what we talked about. Lo hipila isha mereach b'sara kodesh. We won't lose our children from doing the right thing. But there's an important emphasis here, and that is, it has to be kodesh. It has to really be a mitzvah. It can't be that we're doing something under the flag of Torah mitzvahs, and really it's only our own agenda, and the kids are going to suffer from it. There's no guarantee. In Tafshin Lamed Aleph, the Rebbe brought this Mishnah and said, when it comes to family planning, there are those people who don't want to have kids. Pila Isha, they're going to miscarry their kids. They're not going to have them to begin with. We're not going to have big families because they're busy pursuing a career, busy pursuing money, or other things, running to Wall Street. That's one group of women. The Rebbe didn't spend a lot of time. And of course, it's not right, because the greatest gift a woman could have is to have a child. And the greatest gift a child could have is that mother should raise the child. So then the Rebbe said a bigger chiddush. Lo hipila isha mereach b'sara kodesh. What about if a woman will come and say, I smell the kodesh. I see what it's like to be a teacher. I smell the beauty of shlichus. I smell the beauty of giving a shir to other women. I want to have a part of that. I can't, because if I have too many kids, I won't be able to go on Mitzrayim. I won't be able to be a shluch. I won't be able to be a teacher. That gets tricky. That gets tricky. What about making a decision not to have kids or not to educate your own kids, but not because I'm busy running to the mall or going to school just to pursue my hobbies or ambitions? It's because b'sara kodesh, because I'm going to be a kli kodesh. That gets tricky. So the Mishnah says that the Mishnah is saying two things. If it's b'sar hakodesh, no harm will come to your children. Have the children, no harm will come. If you can't do both, then it's not b'sar hakodesh. For you, it's not b'sar hakodesh. That's what the Rebbe said. I'm just going to try to explain it a little bit. There's a wild sikha, Vav Tishrei Tafshin Alamed Daled. The end of 1973, right? The Nakud of the sikha is that very emotional sikha at length. The Rebbe talks about Chana. It was Rebbe's and Chana's Yard. The Rebbe talks about Chana Hanaviyah. For years, she would go up to where they would go to Shiloi with her husband, right, and all the other women. And the Rebbe brings from the Medrash that every year they would take a new route, because they would do muftzayim on the way. They would convince other people who weren't going to Aliyah L'Regel to come with them. For many years they did this. After she had her baby Shmuel, for 2 years she didn't go up to Shiloi. And the Rebbe was passionately talking about this. Why didn't she go? She had to nurse her baby. First of all, she had enough money to hire a wet nurse if she wanted. She had enough money to bring nurses with her, and even if she was going to nurse the baby, she could have had all the help in the world. And besides that, what about all those women who were waiting for her to bring them up to Shiloi? Says the Rebbe, sometimes a child needs their mother, and there cannot be any replacement for that mother. And Chana knew this. She knew Shmuel needed the first few years of his life with his mother. So she gave up the Ruach HaKodesh that she got in Shiloi. She gave up this whole Miftzayim campaign on the way to Shiloi for the benefit of this little Shmuel. So that kind of sounds, Lo yipila isha mereach b'sar HaKodesh. That's not b'sar HaKodesh. She smells Shiloi. She wants to go to Shiloi, but for her it's not holy. Somebody else's meat, it's somebody else's holiness. For her, the holiest thing is to stay home with her Shmuel. Okay, now you ready for this little roller coaster? A few days later, Beis Rivka, can ask more Garowitz about this, wrote a letter to the Rebbe, because they had a whole meeting. Maybe all the teachers go home. Bunch of women teaching in Beis Rivka. Maybe we should only have men teachers. I mean, who should teach here if not the young mothers? Maybe all the young mothers should go home and take care of their kids. And the Rebbe's answer, essentially, one of them is printed in Yiddishkeit, Chelik Chav Tes. It's easy to find because it's Tavshin Lamed Dalet, a few days after the Sikha, right at the end of Tishrei. And essentially, the Rebbe told these people, Beis Rivka, part of Beis Rivka's mission is also to train teachers. There's a reason, because we need these teachers. And each person should find what's right for them. Some people belong teaching, some people don't. Some people belong more hours, less. They should all find what's correct for them. To flip the other side, and you could go back and forth over here. My mother was pregnant with her, with her sixth child. She already had 5 children under the age of 8, pregnant with her sixth. The 5 and 6 were basically 11 months apart. She wrote a letter into the Rebbe because the women, the Neshei Chabad, in Morristown were nudging her to get more involved in the Cheder and to go with them to the mall to give out neshek. And she was really torn. She didn't know what to do. They have a good claim. B'sar HaKodesh, she really wanted part of what they're doing, but at the same time, she has to take care of her kids. Kanai and Hada. She wrote a letter into the Rebbe in which she writes, this is what I do so far. I stay at home. I take care of my home, my husband, and my children. This is what they want me to get involved in. And as usual, the Rebbe answered on the same letter, using the words of the person asking the question. The Rebbe circled the words, taking care of her home, her husband, and her children, and wrote on the bottom, Ashrei Chelka. Ashrei Chelka. Praised is her lot. For her, the right thing was to stay at home. B'sar HaKodesh is holy meat, but it's not holy for everybody. For the person who it's holy, it won't bring any harm. For the person who it's not holy, and they don't belong going there. And this is a very edel, a very, very, very edel question that should be taken seriously, and each one of us should ask, what's right for me? We'll just finish off. Go back to that woman who, Baruch Hashem, has twins. Okay, I'm just using the story as an example, but any such story must be dealt with very delicately, and they should consult the Rav, of course. It's an unusual case. The Torah talks about Oynes Rachmana Patri and other such cases. It's very unusual for a young couple, both Bali Tshuva, to have 3 kids, 2 of them twins, under the age of 2, in a community with very little from support. It's very possible that in such a case, at least some days, he belongs at home. However crazy it is to say that, there's a minyan. A Yid has to happen with a minyan, especially you learn Chassidus, 10 Yidden coming together, there's nothing like it. It's possible that that's B'sar HaKodesh, and he should smell it and want to go there. But if it's not his holiness, today he belongs at home, then he should be at home. If he belongs in shul, under the circumstances, it's a night that he belongs in shul, where they talk it over with a Rav, a Mashpia, someone who gets them, and the right thing is for him to go to shul, the woman may still have a difficult time. No one's saying she won't. But she shouldn't be concerned that it's going to have a bad effect on the children. Like that woman in the story, let her take the whisper, this is a good thing for you, it's good for your kids, it's good for your home. Nothing bad, no harm will come out of it. And the same thing applies to men and women the opposite way around. If it's the right thing for a woman to go run a women's program at night, and he has to bathe the kids and put the kids to sleep and be Mr. Mom for a couple hours, only good is going to come out of that. If she doesn't belong there and she's running away, I was on the bus once going to the oil, and there was this woman, her kid is screaming in the stroller, and she's standing and davening. Talk to your Rav, talk to your Mashpia, and open up a Kitzur Shulchan Aruch and see if you're supposed to be davening now. It talks about if married women need to daven or not. If your baby is crying, forget about that baby's disturbing the whole bus and everything, but the poor child is crying. Right now, the B'sar HaKodesh is that kid is holier than your davening. But then, at the same time, if it's B'sar HaKodesh, imagine, the Rebbe said a woman running to the mall or running to Wall Street, we're not going to talk about that, but even a woman running for holiness shouldn't get in the way of her kids. But we should always have that smell. Remember, why did Hashem not make that nest that the woman shouldn't smell it? Because it's always good to smell the Kodesh and want a part in it. When it's appropriate, we'll take part in the Besar Kodesh. When it's not appropriate, we won't. It's al derech hatzachos, but they say Yaakov established Tfilas Arvis. Yaakov is the one who established Maidav. Avram made Shach. Avram Avinu was Shachris, Yitzchak Mincha, Yaakov Maidav. Why did Yaakov establish Tfilas Arvis? You have 12 kids at home. The easiest thing is to say, Maidav, I got to go daven Maidav. But, however, here's the same Yaakov Avinu. Who was his third son? Levi, okay? Why was Levi called Levi? Pam Yelove Ishi Elai. Leah said, now my husband will accompany me. Now this sounds like a joke, but there's a sefer, it's called Toidas Yitzchak, I believe. Toidas Yitzchak, from the uncle of the Beis Yosef. The uncle of the Beis Yosef wrote a drashas on the Chumash called Toidas Yitzchak. And he writes like this: if a woman has one baby, she could hold one baby. She has two, she could hold two. When she has a third baby, who's going to hold the third baby? Hapam, you love it, like now my husband is going to help. So with all jokes considered over here, Erstens, you see that sometimes the father belongs by Maidav, and sometimes the father belongs holding the third kid. And this has to be said to men, so maybe I'm not going to be Maidav over here anymore about this, but sometimes when you hold the third kid, when you're needed to hold that third kid and you do it, it will be a lot easier when you need to go to Maidav afterwards.